Do you hear how intense that was? Holy crap! I thought it was going to go everywhere.
Is that a shit?
You could never touch anything with that hand again! You don't know me. Did you know I wanted to be a dancer? It's like Illilia when they're like, so has the flood really affected you at all? And he's like, nope, not at all. Like, maybe because I couldn't get groceries. And I just talked about how I couldn't get groceries.
I know. I'm just like, all I need to do is start patting my pizza down to get the fat off.
The fat off of it. Hey, buddy.
Hey. Any difference now?
Yeah, you're synced up, I think.
Oh, good. I rebooted all my shit. Maybe that
awesome.
helped.
Oh, that looks so much better.
Oh, good.
I can actually look at you while you talk.
That's excellent. The cognitive dissonance must have been maddening.
Oh man, I was so OCD, like I couldn't even look over because it was awful.
I can't even look at you.
Yeah. It's like you'd be talking, but then the video would be you listening to what I just said.
Oh.
And so you're like, nothing would be moving. And then you would stop talking because it would be time for me to talk. And then your lips would be moving. It was really unnerving. Let's just fucking go in. Hey, long walkers. Welcome to episode 83.
Oh, yeah.
I
don't know why I did that.
That's fantastic.
I've never done that in 83 episodes.
We need Moto in here to think that was like a perfect setup for shit, son. Like,
I know.
Wow.
Well, this is Dave talking weird at you from Northfield, Minnesota.
This is Palmer talking to you, podcasting from Dayton, Ohio.
Oh, good to see you. Good to see you.
Good to see you too, buddy. Let's just go right into a beer.
Hell yeah.
Because I think it's due. I'm drinking this. I know about this beer only through Stephen King. Narragansett.
Oh, that sounds familiar. Yeah.
Yeah. Where was this one made? This is New York. Oh. Rochester, New York. So, but he references this in his books.
Sweet.
So
I got one of those milk stout nitros that you pour it hard, as they say. Turn it directly upside down. About to do that.
Oh man. Yeah. All right. Well, on 3 then.
Okay.
And 3.
Woo. And yeah. Oh, that's cool.
Man.
I gotta let it settle, but
that's like getting a Guinness.
Yeah, I knew
that was intense.
Was it?
I was like, oh man, it's gonna run everywhere.
I
Too
know.
hard. He's coming in hot.
I guess that's what you're supposed to do to unleash the nitro of it. It's very fun to do. I felt the same way when someone did it in front of me first. I was like, oh no, don't do that.
Like, when you go to edit this, here's what I want you to do. We're just gonna pause, but I want you to replay the audio of you dumping that in again. Okay. Listen to this again, and just listen to how intense it sounds. Ignore my big mouth that's probably talking over it, but let's just.
And yeah. Oh, that's cool.
Do you hear how intense that was? Holy crap! I thought it was going to go everywhere. It didn't, though. It was like perfect. It was a perfect pour.
Thank you. Oh, it's
Very
delicious.
impressive.
How's the Nagas?
Narragansett.
Narragansett.
It's actually really good. It's a cheap beer. It's like $6 for a 6-pack.
Nice.
Of the tall cans, you know? So we've been on a cheap beer kick for a while. First off, microbrews, they're delicious. They're potent. But man, are they expensive.
Oh, yeah.
So we've been on a cheap beer kick. So this was like $5.99 a 6-pack, and this is going to sound so trashy, but it's delicious. So Natty Light, which we drank so much of at the Grant.
Yeah, I remember.
That was like the beer of the Grant. Came out with this. So it used to you can make this drink with Natty Light that's called like Skippies is the probably more appropriate term. But I've heard it referred to as pink panty droppers, where you like mix it with pink lemonade and vodka and Natty Light, and you make this drink, and it's really good. It's like great in the summertime. So they made this beer. It's pink lemonade beer, and it's called Natterdays, like Saturdays, but like, and it is delicious. So and that's like $4.99 for a 6-pack of big tall cans like this.
Whoa.
And it's in like a pink can, and it's delicious. So I would highly recommend trying that to any of our listeners. Natty Light, if you are looking to sponsor a small-time podcast that's creeping up on their triple-digit count in episodes.
Yeah.
That's like a year of content. It's got to be. It's
like, in terms of listening to them? Oh, my gosh.
As much as we talk. Oh, man. So, yeah, highly recommend Natterday. Cheap beer kick. Long walk, short drink.
Yeah. Cheers, long walkers, wherever you are.
Yeah.
Quarantined or otherwise. Oh, before we get into stuff like that, what I don't have many, but what does 83 make you think of? We're into these years we're alive now, so I've been trying to do that. We used to do presidents, now this.
83. Did E.T. come out in 83?
I want to say 82, but I could be wrong. Supercomputer.
Yeah.
82. Yeah, I don't know why I know that.
82. Wow. Way to go, penis breath.
Yeah, I always thought that was really intense. Well, not always, but when I got old enough.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of like really. But then when I thought back on it, I'm like, my brother and I called each other dickhead all the time. Like that was like.
But if you between the two of those, one has a subtext.
Oh yeah, no, I mean penis breath is obviously way more offensive, and he like screams it in front of the whole family. Like,
yeah,
oh, jeez, man.
Well, 83 for me, the most important thing would be that's when Moto was born. So,
oh, geez.
I think of that, and then the only other thing came to mind was that's when the U2 album War came out. One of my favorites. But even now, I've been thinking about it. I can't think of other things that are 83. There's a John Mayer song called 83, but I don't know how important that is to me. It's not unimportant, I guess. But yeah, well, maybe it's unimportant in the grand scheme of things. But
I don't know. Let's see what Return of the Jedi came out in 83.
Fuck! Oh, what a bad Star Wars fan I am.
War Games, The Big Chill, popular 1983 movies. Is that Flashdance? Yeah.
I don't think to this day I've actually seen Flashdance. I have that to look forward to.
This is actually there's a lot of shit on 83. So like Return of the Jedi, War Games, Big Chill, Risky Business, Trading Places, Flashdance, Christmas Story.
Oh yeah.
Blue Thunder, National Lampoon's Vacation, Terms of Endearment, Sudden Impact, The Outsiders, The Twilight Zone movie. Fuck the producer of that film.
The Dead Zone.
The Dead Zone. Oh!
And
Are you looking
Cujo.
at the same? You looking at the same ones I am?
Maybe.
Al Pacino, Scarface. Oh shit, I missed Gremlins there, or no, Octopussy.
Great.
Mr. Mom, The Right Stuff.
Christine. This is a fucking big year.
Superman 3.
Oh.
Superman 3, dude. Like,
It's the one Good Will Hunting ripped off.
oh yeah.
All the Right Moves. I like that movie with Tom Cruise.
The Hunger.
Oh, I've always wanted to see that.
Videodrome.
Always wanted to see
man.
Bad Boys too. The one with Sean Penn.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
That came out that year. There's a movie called DC Cab that's just Mr. T standing in front of a cab looking ornery.
Krull came out. Rumblefish, Staying Alive. Well, Staying Alive.
Staying Alive's hilarious though.
Sleepaway Camp.
I've always wanted to
Strange
see
Brew.
that. Never seen that either. Lone Wolf and McQuaid. There are a lot of these I have heard of, obviously, but there's quite a few that you mentioned that I have not seen. I only saw Trading Places a few years ago.
Star 80.
I've always heard of Star 80 with Eric Roberts, but never actually seen that.
Porky's 2.
I haven't even seen Porky's 1.
Oh man, Porky's 1 is fantastic. Talk about misogyny. Man.
Oh. So, okay. Well, that's 83. So, anything comes up for you for 83, though? Nothing bubbling up to the top?
No.
right.
I mean, I would be 3 years old. Like,
oh, yeah. That's true. I understand. Yeah, it's not like I remember things from that year. I mean,
yeah.
I remember my brother being born. Actually, the funny story I remember about his infancy was, I remember it was like, we used to live right across from West Hill, the elementary school.
Yeah.
Like right directly across. Actually, where Larry was living for a while, we lived like one house down from that.
Okay.
When I was that age, or in that year. And so I remember Moto as a very young baby holding him in this one chair that we had for a long time. This like beige chair that I can remember very specifically. Anyway, so I had no shirt on and he was a baby and he tried to breastfeed from me. So,
oh, man.
Yeah, that made an impression on me that I remember to this day.
Oh, that is very uncomfortable for when he listens to this.
I wonder if he remembers. I'm sure he doesn't remember that, but I wonder if that's a story he remembers from that time.
Moto, do you remember trying to suck on your brother's nipple?
Yeah. That was
Let us
awesome.
know when you listen.
I mean, I'm not saying it was awesome. Creepily, I was referring to the Chris Farley show dynamic. You can suck on my nipple anytime.
Better.
And then he would say, bullshit, you can suck on mine. Boom, Top Gun. Into not even 10 minutes in, Top Gun reference.
Holy jeez. That's impressive.
That's how I
I
roll.
was timing it. That was 10 minutes, 34 seconds. That was
I act like it was a thing, but maybe now it will be.
Yeah.
Try to sneak into Top Gun. Because you've never actually seen Top Gun, right?
No, I have not.
I mean, I don't know if you'll like it or not, but
I faked it till I made it.
it's all right.
I don't know. Val Kilmer's in it probably a lot.
Oh, and he's a dick.
Yeah,
That's all right. He's supposed to be.
It's probably not a hard far stretch for him. It's probably easy for him to play that character.
Oh, he does this thing where he chomps his teeth in this one moment. He does it as a response. I get it. I'm not going to do it to you. Okay. Anyhow, so the world is crumbling around us. We're already having a good time.
Yeah, what the fuck, man? Like, you ever just wake up, like, I went to bed last night, and I opened my eyes, and it felt like it had only been 30 seconds.
Oh, really?
And all I wanted to say was, what the fuck? Like, I need like 4 more hours of this, man. Like, it was awful.
Oh, did you not really sleep? Was that what you meant? Or it was just like Groundhog Day vibe?
Yeah, just like Groundhog Day. Like, I just like teleported in time. Like, I closed my eyes and then felt exactly the same when I opened them. But 4 or 5 hours had jumped ahead.
So what has day to day been like for you? Like, have you been working from home for a while, or?
No, yesterday was my first day working from home. So, excuse me, Jesus. You know what else you got going on? No, I'm so tired.
Well, it can be. It's exhausting. I don't tend to I'm not terribly alarmist. There's a lot of things I just don't really fall prey to that I'm seeing all over the place in terms of like people, what is the word, catastrophizing and all of this kind of stuff. But it caught me pretty early on when not early on in terms of the whole worldwide pandemic, but maybe around the time that word was getting used, or when the coronavirus officially became a pandemic, I started coming to work and I was like, I'm alarmed. Like, I'm not usually alarmed at things, but this has kind of scared me, and it's continued. I just find myself oddly out of sorts, and it's a big deal. So I think it is exhausting. Yawning is fine. That's what I was getting at.
So Ash and I am, and then Ash, unfortunately by extension, like, Samuel L. Jackson and with his girlfriend. He's not a vegetarian, but his girlfriend is.
It's pretty much
which makes him vegetarian. So, like, I am a homebody. So really, the idea of like just self-isolate, so like social distancing, I guess, as the kids are calling it these days. That has not impacted me that much. You know, it's really easy for me to not really do much throughout the week, because especially when we were doing this regularly, like this would be one night, I would have pinball league one night, so I guess I would go out for that. Tuesday, Ash volunteers, so that's like my bachelor night when I would get my pizza and like watch a movie, like usually a movie I know she wouldn't watch. And then Thursday and Friday are probably like errands, right? And Friday maybe we do like movies and a pizza. Let's see, pizza twice already that week.
Sounds amazing. Both of those things sound so good to me.
Yeah. But so that wasn't like hasn't been a huge drastic impact, right? Because we're kind of living how we would live anyways on that front. But then like last night and yesterday, I was like, we had plenty of groceries to probably get us through the weekend. But I was like, we should really try to get out and get something to try to get past that, because in case we get really like locked down, you know? Mm-hmm. And so when we got to the store, that's when it really like and I know like you see it on the news and you hear about people like panic buying and hoarding. It was just decimated. And then the stuff that got passed over, it was like all it took was one person not to pick this one thing. And so then nobody picked it. So it would like, you would go and like, there would be 10 or 15 feet of empty shelves. And then all of this one thing would be perfectly ribboned in the shelf. Whoa. And then another, like the rest of the shelf would be empty. And it's like, what's about that one thing that kept, like that nobody bought this one thing, but they bought everything else around it. That's so weird.
That is weird. What type of products are we talking? Like the bread aisle and all the bread's gone except for the one type?
Yeah, like that. So it was like, so in the bread aisle, 99% of the bread aisle was empty. But then there was this whole section perfectly still there of like cinnamon swirl bread, like that nobody bought. The salad dressing aisle was all like, there were big barren spots in that, but like we got Thousand Island dressing because we were going to make Reubens with the corned beef that we made. Ooh, and nice. So the Thousand Island was like perfectly there, like it had not even been picked over. It's just weird. So that really impacted us.
Just going to the grocery store and sort of witnessing the weirdness.
It made it and the impact only in the way, not that it was inconvenienced. We were able, luckily, we were still able. Oh, geez, how are things going? It looks like the walls are coming in around you, buddy.
Things are okay. The reason why I'm surrounded by so much stuff is this whole thing has coincided with us getting our floor redone downstairs. So all of our downstairs is upstairs. So
Oh man, the whole media collection.
Yeah, I'm surrounded by so many things, and the media is just like out everywhere in other rooms.
Oh, it looks like
kind of great.
It looks like oh man, it reminds me of so many different scenes from movies. That's hilarious.
It was fun for me to go through, and actually the flooring's almost done. We have this guy. We ended up with a independent contractor recommended by a friend of the bride's, and I couldn't put an age on him exactly, but I'm gonna guess between 50 and 60. And so he's got gray hair and stuff like that, and weathered features of a guy that just fucking works all day. He's doing this whole thing by himself. He's making a great time, doing great work. It's incredible. And so it's gonna almost all be over by early afternoon tomorrow. But the bride is talking about painting. It's like the bane of my existence. I refuse to help, but I feel bad about it. And this whole thing has been, this is like the kind of first world shit going on here. Like, we're stressed out about all this home improvement stuff. We've returned baseboard 3 times to Menards in the last 2 days. Try to get it the right shade. It's just dumb shit. But similar to what you mentioned, like I'm used to working from home. I'm at this point with with my job. I'm either planning to make little documentary movie things for college, or filming them, or editing them. That's kind of it. And then like admin type stuff related to my larger organization. And we filmed 8 of the 9 student interviews we were going to do prior to things getting really serious. And we had to cancel one, but so where I'm at in that process is like they went out for transcription. They're long interviews about trying something new about the student's whole college experience, and the clients sending me back like, these are the bits we like, and then I try to make them work. But like, that process that I'm going through right now with that feedback and that editing is the same as it would be if I were working. Now I don't think we were trying to figure out like how to, so like showing them doing these things, B-roll type stuff, filming them outside of the studio. I don't think that's going to happen. But anyway, so it's just not been different, my actual job. And I'm used to working from home a lot if I'm not filming, because usually once or twice a week. But anyway, so that's not much of a shift. And honestly, the bride made a joke, is like, everything like you want to watch and interact with, it happened like before 1994. So you're not even that impacted by, like, she's very sad, for instance, that baseball isn't happening. So in a lot of ways I am unaffected. In fact, there's the whole thing about the social distancing and stuff, and people trying to bridge that gap so that they can have interactions with people. So I'm super fortunate to, be in a happy marriage with 2 dogs that bring us comfort. I mean, Jeff's a little bit of a challenge, but whatever. He's also a lot of joy and fun. But yeah, so it's like I'm not a very social person. So, it hasn't affected me much in that regard.
Do you know what it made me realize today?
What?
That it's like Illilia when they're like, so has the flood really affected you at all? And he's like, nope, not at all. Like, maybe because I couldn't get groceries. And I just talked about how I couldn't get groceries. That's it. Like,
I know. I'm just I'm feeling yesterday I was really dirty too. So I'm like, all I need to do is start patting my pizza down to get the fat off.
The fat off of it.
Shit. Yeah, you're right. It's fun. I just watched, have you heard of this thing? It's called Jacob. It's a documentary called Jacob, and it's on Amazon Prime. And it reminded me of Ulalilia. Let me look it up real quick.
Oh, is that the one where the guy's like, he's like a lawyer, a doctor, a like tour guide, a like, oh yeah.
We watched that.
I haven't watched it, but it's in my suggested.
I think you would like it. Something about him reminds me of you, not in a bad way, not in a weird way, but like someone who's really smart there are different things that they sometimes like weigh, and where they put their energies and all of that. There's not a lot to give away. It's only 45 minutes. I was disappointed that it was so
that's
short, honestly.
Yeah.
Because it was really fun and engaging. I was going to suggest we watch the trailer together, but the trailer really only shows that he has all these degrees. And that's not, that's very interesting, but it's not the most interesting thing somehow.
And it's not like a big part of his life, right? So.
I mean, it kind of is, but not at the same time. He's just like a really interesting, guy. He's like Lilia or Mark Borch or something like, like a really singular person.
I love those like unique personalities pieces. So.
Yeah, I think you like this then. So it's
all right,
it's on Amazon Prime. It's called Jacob, and it's about this super smart guy. The one thing I guess I'll tell you is he's also a writer. He writes fiction, and kind of basically he takes all of this knowledge that he has and infuses it in his fiction, and it's like a great repository for the intricate knowledge he has about all these different things.
Wow,
it really makes me want to read his
Michael
books.
Crichton. Yeah.
Oh, is he a?
Well, Michael Crichton was like a doctor, so a lot of his early stuff that has to do with medical stuff. So there's like Adrenoma strain, which is about a virus that comes from space, and it like decimates an entire town except for an old man and a baby. And so they bring these two survivors into this like ultra clean environment to try to study this virus that they have to see how they can combat it, and craziness ensues. He also wrote Jurassic Park.
Sure.
He was like super smart and intelligent and was a trained doctor, but he wrote these great pieces of fiction. So
nice. Yeah.
'Cause I think he produced or was the creator behind one of the medical television shows.
I want to say ER.
ER. I think it was ER. Yeah.
I think that's right.
So, that would have been tied to his background. So
yeah,
that's it. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's cool.
I definitely we'll have to check that out for sure. We've been watching. So I'm sure that's not the only awesome thing that you've watched recently, right? Like
it might be. I mean, not. I haven't been watching a whole lot. I realized, we have our regular shows, our Better Call Saul and Walking Dead and shit like that. I have the Criterion app, which I think I mentioned last time. And I was watching particularly Paul Schrader movies on that. And quickly, one of the ones I meant, because he said in this really cool profile that's still up there, I think it's called Man in a Room. He's like, I've been involved in 4 great films, and it's like Taxi Driver, Affliction. It's like a Japanese title that starts with an M. I wish I could remember, and then this new one, New West, First Reform. And so I watched First Reform, and I really liked that quite a bit. And then I started watching some of the other stuff on Criterion, and I was going to watch Affliction, but the next time I went back, it's fucking gone. So I was like, God damn it. And so this last weekend, I got online, I went back there, and I was scrolling through, and it was like leaving March 31st. I was like, oh, okay. I'm sure the rest of the world operates it like this, but I hadn't previously. And so I scrolled through to see what of the things that I wanted to see were going away. And there was one of his movies, Patty Hearst, that tells the Patty Hearst story. It came out in 1988. I never even heard of it. But I was kind of curious, and I was like, well, I'll just start it. And then if I don't like it, I'll stop. And it sucked me in.
Awesome.
It's kind of cool. It was pretty stylized and I thought really well done. It was Ving Rhames with hair in that movie. I'd never seen that.
What? I didn't even know that existed.
Neither did I. It was pretty cool. But I think that's the only movie I can think of for sure. And I started to watch. Actually, I watched this documentary. That let's see, Ross Brothers. This has to do with Rittman. That's why I want to bring it up with you before I forget.
A documentary about Rittman?
It's not about Rittman per se, but when I was at the documentary thing out in Montana, which I'm so glad I got to go to before it went away, or before the opportunity to travel anywhere was gone. the first morning was like these two guys, like I said, the last thing I couldn't go to, like I said last time I should say, was with the documentary filmmakers who made American Factory that just won the Oscar. And so there are all these people that I was unfamiliar with. Like even them, I had no idea when I booked it. I never heard of them. But anyway, they were part of like these master classes, as they would call them. So the first one was with these guys, the Ross brothers. So they're brothers who make documentaries, and they did like a retrospective of all their work, and they had a new film and all this. And so that all happened the weekend before I arrived, so I missed it. But I saw this talk with them. I was curious. So I looked them up online, and on their Vimeo page, they had their first film from 2009 available now to watch for free. And it's like 90 minutes. The title of which is 45365, which is a zip code in Ohio. And it's just a kind of a slice of life in 2009 of that place. And there's something so familiar about that from having grown up where we did. It's not that I would recommend watching it necessarily, because it's, I mean, if you're in the mood for something like that, absolutely. It's free. You can find it on Vimeo.
What's the zip code again?
45365. I wonder if there's a trailer. There might be. We don't need to get into that, but I did watch that recently because I felt, and Roger Ebert called it an achingly beautiful film. The New York Times said, remarkable, captivating, a small town symphony. And it looks like it's shot on DV or something like that. And there are some slightly more like edgy elements than say we might have encountered on our, well, maybe not though, honestly. I don't know. It felt familiar. I think it seems like it's Southern Ohio. Anyway, but I watched that and I really liked it. I thought I would turn it off, and switch to something else, but I didn't. I was kind of riveted the whole way. But those two movies I think might be the only ones I've seen new since I spoke to you last. How about you? You were about to say, and then you gave me the opportunity. Of course, it's like 15 minutes later.
No, that's fine. I got Ash to watch a scary movie, and actually a pretty intense scary movie. Like, kind of blew my mind. Hereditary.
Oh yeah, we watched that. Yeah,
with Toni Collette.
Yeah.
Holy fuck, man! So. It was in the middle of the day, and I just happened to start it, and she was like just putzing around, and she started like paying more attention to the screen, and then like slowly settled into the living room and sat on the couch, and then we watched this entire thing, like all the way to like Toni Collette with the piano wire, like cutting her own head off. That was
I forgot that detail. Yeah.
So. That was really awesome, and it was a good scary movie. Like it was, great. Really liked it.
That's the one that supposedly has a Coven nod in it. We talked about. I was like, did I mention Coven? I keep wanting to say COVEN-19, which I know I told you in a text.
Yeah.
But yeah, in one of the like, I can't remember what group she goes to. Maybe a grief group because of her child's passing.
Yeah.
There is a shot that mirrors the kind of, and it's one of those things, I don't know if it's intentional, but I like to think it is, that looks like a shot right out of Coven from the AA group, where it's just kind of a wide shot where you see like a horseshoe of people sharing, in group. And yeah, I like that idea that it's a nod to Coven.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. That was the bride wanted us to watch that when the time came, or when that came to video first, whatever that was.
Yeah, it's on Amazon Prime. Funny you mentioned Amazon Prime. We watched that, and then we watched. So I ran across the show on Netflix called "I'm Not Okay with This," but it stars the female actress who plays the kid version of Beverly Marsh from It.
Oh, sure.
And then the kid who plays who's the Jewish kid that kills himself as a grown up? Stanley
Urus.
Stanley Urus.
What's
So the
Mike's
kid
last
that-
name? I was trying to think that earlier. Oh my! I took a walk right before we talked. I'm like thinking about him, the Mike of the group, and it seemed like a weird thing to be thinking about. But now, Mike. I had no idea. I have no idea. Sorry, he probably don't either. Derail everything. Mike. Hanlon. Thank you. Okay. All right.
Yeah, I'm not okay with this. So here's the synopsis. Sydney is a teenage girl navigating the trials and tribulations of high school while dealing with the complexities of her family, her budding sexuality, and mysterious superpowers just beginning to awaken deep within her. So, Sophia Lillis and then Wyatt Olef are the two kids from It. And he fucking steals the show. He is amazing in it. Like, he nails this character, totally owns it, does a great job. But the whole show kind of has, it reminds me a lot of, and maybe it's just for the narration of like My So-Called Life a little bit.
I'm in.
I knew you'd be like, doesn't she narrate a lot in that show?
I
Like,
think
does she
so.
do-
Yeah.
Yeah.
I rewatched it not too long ago.
So the whole premise gets laid out with the narration very early that she's encouraged by her guidance counselor to keep a diary. And so she just pours her heart out into this diary. And so whenever you hear the narration, it's what she's ultimately writing in her diary. And it's fantastic, man. And I don't want to spoil it, but there's a huge payoff in the last episode. And just like, it builds to it really well. The episodes move really quick. Totally worth checking out.
I'm interested. I think the bride might go for that.
Yeah.
Which would be cool. It's so funny, the whole narration piece of it, because I randomly this whole Paul Schrader movie thing, but that all started with the documentary. It's a short documentary with him, called A Man in a Room, but he was talking about First Reformed. He's like, this is one of my A Man in a Room movies, one of 3. And then that movie, Ethan Hawke plays a priest who's keeping a diary.
Yeah.
Of course, Travis Bickle, the taxi driver, keeping a diary. And then one of the other movies I saw that I hadn't seen before, I watched because of this curiosity, is Light Sleeper, in which Willem Dafoe, a 1992 movie where he plays a drug dealer keeping a diary. So I've actually seen a lot of that convention recently in the few movies I've been watching.
So do you think that that's a like brave artistic choice, or do you think that's kind of a cop out to get easy internal monologue, like dialogue, right? So you can get a lot of exposition out of the way, and a lot of like, you don't have to spend time on development if you can just have your characters say what they're thinking, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, absolutely.
So like it's kind of a cheat. It's kind of like a filmmaking cheat where we can get to the action, we can get to the meat and potatoes of the story a lot faster. And how much more compelling does it make these main characters if they're angsty enough to like confess their thoughts into writing, right? Like
right.
That it's very easy to feel intimate with this character because this is an intimate act that they're doing. And so, but it's also kind of cheating at storytelling in a sense that there's no ifs, ands, or buts about what a character's thinking, because they're literally, you're getting their thoughts. So
yeah, that's a great point. I hadn't thought of it like that. I'm trying to think in the context of those 3 movies I mentioned. Yeah, some of them, like the Ethan Hawke character in particular, there's a lot going on with him conflict-wise that you wouldn't know from the way that he behaves around other people. The Willem Dafoe one too, like I don't know. I think in each of those movies it plays a similar role in the Paul Schrader thing. But that's why it's kind of interesting to me, because it's this motif and
I don't mean it
coming out in
I
that
don't
guy's
mean
work.
a cheat in a negative way by any means. Like, it's an effective storytelling method. It just, and it is still character development. I guess I should say that too.
No, but that's interesting because it's like that whole idea of narration in movies. That gets an even worse rap. If you got to resort to narrate, like they would say that about Blade Runner or whatever. If you need the narration to explain things too much, then it means they're not otherwise explained. So that makes sense as a criticism or a way to think about it. And I think in the Paul Schrader example, I did and didn't know this about him, but he was a film critic and theorist before he ever made movies or wrote movies. And he's written some cool ones like Taxi Driver and Last Temptation of Christ, and he even made one of the Exorcist sequels. So the Exorcist movie well, I can't remember what they call it. It's the one that came out in the mid 2000s or something so basically Paul Schrader made it, and it tells the story of Father Merrin in, I'm going to maybe say Africa. It's like the first time he encountered the Pazuzu demon, maybe? I could be wrong about this.
Yeah.
And he's played by Stellan Skarsgård. Is that how you say that guy's name? The Good
so
Will
this was
Hunting
like
dude.
the Exorcist prequel, right? Like,
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
So Paul Schrader was like, he made the movie, but he made a much more, I guess, cerebral movie than the studio or whoever commissioned it wanted it, and so they took it away from him and they gave it to, I want to say, Rennie Harlan. Harlan Exorcist. Am I right about this? Yeah. So and then it came out in 2004 as Exorcist: The Beginning. Yeah, Father Merrin, Stellan Skarsgård, is haunted by his experiences in World War II, when occupying Nazi troops forced him to be complicit in their atrocities. But anyway, it is the prequel, and so that movie came out in theaters in 2004 and on DVD and all that stuff. And actually, Rennie Harlan, if I'm not mistaken, he might have even made Roadhouse.
Man,
Die Hard 2, Cliffhanger, yeah.
So he's got Last Temptation of Christ, The Mosquito Coast, Mishima, I think might
That's
be
the one.
Japanese
and
movie
that one
of.
I got to see that one on Criterion before it
Life
goes
in
away.
4 Chapters.
Yeah, I tried to watch. But what's kind of cool is I tried to watch that in the motel room in Montana, and it wasn't working. The Criterion must not have paid whoever.
Oh.
So I'm like, well, let me try Netflix, and that's why I got to see the Raiders doc that we talked about last time, I think.
Oh yeah.
And then the newest Martin Scorsese Bob Dylan documentary about Rolling Thunder, which I loved.
Yep.
So it had that worked, I wouldn't have gotten to see those. But yeah, sorry, you were going down his filmography there.
City Hall. I'm just like,
yeah, it's like some better than others, right?
Yeah.
but all stuff I've heard of.
Yeah.
Rennie Harlan did not make Roadhouse. I know I'm all over the place.
Dark is the one with Ethan Hawke.
Which one? It's called. Oh, you're looking at Paul Schrader. The First Reformed is that one. But
okay.
But I think it's worth talking about what you just mentioned. Is it called Dark?
Yeah.
So this is part of that documentary, and it's a short documentary on the Criterion Channel. But so Schrader had made two movies with Nicolas Cage in the last few years. One of them is Dog Eat Dog. I haven't seen either of these. Dog Eat Dog with Nicolas Cage and Willem Dafoe. The short synopsis of which is a crew of ex-cons are hired by a Cleveland mafioso to kidnap the baby of a rival mobster. Whoa.
What?
So this is 2016. And then the other one is... Where'd it go? Dying of the Light, which is 2014. Nicolas Cage. He's the main character, and he's coming down. So he's in the CIA, but he's coming down with Alzheimer's, and then he goes to Rogue to hunt down a terrorist who tortured him during a mission gone awry years ago. But similar to what happened with the Exorcist movie, this got taken away by the producers and recut in a way that he didn't like. And so
Man.
the backdrop of this Man in a Room documentary is like First Reformed is coming out, and it did really well. Like it was up for Oscars and shit. Might even won something. I don't know, in 2017. But in the midst of all this, he's spending his time making this movie dark, which is, Paul, so the IMDb thing says, Paul Schrader was not allowed to come out with the version he desired for Dying of the Light. He took the studio cut and modified it with his artistic license to achieve a closer version to what he had intended. So he's like doing this, just like, he's like, I can't show this or anything. I'm just doing it because like I need to.
Wow.
So it's kind of cool. Like he's like imposing a completely different, like frenetic energy over the whole thing that wasn't there. And he's doing this right after having made First Reformed, which is super, like he made all of these rules in that movie where it had to be like supremely austere. Like it's not even widescreen. It's like 4:3:3 or like 3
what?
Academy. Like they're making movies like that again for stylistic reasons. This was the first one I saw.
Crazy.
And so it's cool to hear the commentary for that, where he's talking about all of these ways in which he's like creating these parameters and restrictions that force a certain creativity, but also, service the purpose of that movie. And interesting too, where he's like, this is a shot I just lifted from Taxi Driver and, stuff like that. I don't know. It's pretty cool. I've enjoyed, I love going through people's careers, and his is one I only know bits and pieces of.
Ethan Hawke got tons of play for this movie. Like he like got nominated for all kinds of stuff. Well, it's got Gollum in it.
Yeah. You call her Gollum? I call the girl from Modern Family Gollum.
No,
they're both Gollum.
That's a Ted 2 joke.
I forgot.
So she plays a character in Ted 2, but they keep referring to her as Gollum. And then later at one point in the movie, they're at a Comic-Con and there's somebody in a Gollum mask and they lock eyes, and it is, like there's some guilty pleasures, and the Ted series is definitely one of them.
Oh, I love those movies. I'm realizing I need to rewatch that now that you break that.
Oh, it's so like, and I have a Ted T-shirt. It says Thunder Buddies for Life, and it's got a picture of him on it, and like, I will wear that shirt and the weirdest fucking people. Like I don't mean that they're weird. I just mean like, you're not expecting to hear somebody just go, "Oh, great shirt. I love that movie." Like there are these unsuspecting people that just really appreciate those movies. I need to watch them too, actually.
They're so delightful. Is that a shit?
You could never touch anything with that hand again.
Oh my God. That makes me want to watch both of those and Boogie Nights.
Yeah.
Scotty, mind your business, please. Oh, shit. I don't own that one, but I do own both Teds. So I keep wanting to get to this place in this horrible coronavirus where I am just like watching movies, but there's this weird thing with work where here's another
you never really leave it because you're just there all the time. I fucking hate it. I hate teleworking.
I don't mind not doing it, but I have a guilt about feeling like, am I doing what I'm supposed to do or enough? Because the larger organization I work for, literally supports faculty technology and class teaching and stuff and online learning. So like, this is like, a lot of them are really overwhelmed and stuff. And they keep saying like, oh, we might need people to pinch in. And like that, just like selfishly, I'm like, oh, I don't want that to happen. I don't know how to do that.
Oh, man.
So stupid. That, and the weird thing is they've instituted a like 3:30 every day mandatory all staff meeting on Zoom, which is like this basically. And this, I mean, I guess it's just because it's always you and me. Like this is so comforting to me. Never something that I dread, always something I look forward to, but like I dread these meetings because they're meant to keep people connected in some way, like to in case they're isolated or whatever, just can talk to their colleagues and stuff. But like we were talking about before, I don't crave that. I actively don't want that anyway. And then we get on here and it's like half the people are in panic mode or they're catastrophizing. Like there was one thing like, oh, it's first day of class. It's going to be the first day of class. Everyone's freaking out. First day of class happens. They're like, yeah, there were literally like thousands upon thousands of Zoom meetings across the campus, the whole university. And then like 97% positive feedback. So I'm just like, well, what?
Right.
Don't freak me out. The first one I went on too, there was a guy who hopped in because we're talking about 35 some people. He just goes, I don't want to alarm anybody, but the president was just on TV talking about XYZ. And one of the things this guy threw in was like grocery stores are going to be closed. So we might need to think about how we get our food. That scared the shit out of me. And of course was false. I'm so annoyed because like we've done 4 of these now. Every single time I've left them feeling more uneasy and aggravated than when I signed on to the call.
Yeah.
I don't want it. I don't need it. Tomorrow they're doing an optional like social hour. And I'm just like, well, there's one word in there I'm really excited about. Because
optional.
Yes. Anyway, sorry, I'm annoyed, but it's like it's ruining, like I have to make a point to not let it infect me to torture the bride and like ruin an evening. Because I don't know, it's something, I feel bad because like I said, I'm fortunate enough to be able to be with myself for really long periods of time on end and not feel panicked or upset or especially lonely or whatever. That's just a weird disposition I've grown into over the years. And so it is terrible if people are feeling isolated and need that connection. But I just wish it could be optional for those of us that I feel bad saying all this. Whatever. The Moto said something to me. I talked to him the other day. He saw something somewhere that introverts have been preparing for this their whole lives.
Yes.
So maybe that's me. I don't know.
No, that's I really think that is so true. In I hate I have to be careful about how much I talk about my work, but I just my work teleworking is completely uncomfortable for a lot of the leadership. And so that has resulted in a lot of micromanaging and a lot of like extra reporting.
Ooh.
So then we're dealing with some technology issues. So our connectivity to be able to do some of the things we need to do isn't happening. So then that generates a lot of like, we're on the phone a lot. And so I can't do anything because they're trying to fill their 8 hours, right? And so if they're talking about what we're working on, then at least they can count that time. But I could connect and be doing my job. So, but then I'm stuck in these like this today. I was stuck in like a 3-hour long telecon.
How many other people were on it?
3 other people, and I don't know. I probably shouldn't be saying any of this stuff, but it just and then after the fact, like I was talking to one of the people on there, and I was just like, we can't do our normal stuff because of technology issues. And so then we spend all this time spinning wheels on the phone, and then I feel almost obligated to then put a full day work in the evening because my stuff still needs to get done, and because we're reporting what we're doing every day, it's really easy for leadership to just be like, hey, I'm going to arbitrarily say that today, this is not enough stuff. You should have done more stuff. So,
oh no.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
saying that would happen, but that kind of arbitrary reporting like that, where there's no clear guidance on what constitutes a full day of work. You know, yeah, that makes it hard.
Yeah, and sometimes with certain types of reporting, it takes so much time to do the reporting that it really takes away from anything you could actually be accomplishing. I mean, it depends.
Yeah.
I've experienced that. A lot of well-intentioned people on our side are like in the situation that I'm describing, like they're advocating, take walks, take time away. Like they'll say like, don't work at night, don't work tonight. I'm like, no problem, man. Like that's not happening. but for some people that might be a really good, like off the hook type, like letting them off the hook. And I don't know. It's weird because it's called social distancing, but I feel like I'm being forced to be social in ways that I'm not usually. Now, thankfully, I don't have to speak in these things, but I did have to do a little like, tell me about an interaction you had with like faculty, students, etc. today. And I'm like, well, today was the same for me as it would have been if, and I wasn't super shitty, but I was honest about it. And yeah, it's weird. I don't do well with the lack of with uncertainty.
How did they respond to that? Like,
there's no response. I think they're just looking to gather anecdote. It's one of these things where I feel like you've said a minute ago, where because they can't do what they would normally do, they end up talking about it, which then feels like work. I think for different people, work looks and feels like different things. And for me, it's a very focused deal. Like I cannot really multitask, except for like if I'm just like editing video that doesn't have sound and I'm just cutting out all the bad parts, I could listen to something. But that's the only instance of multitasking I can think of. Like it's all very focused.
Studies have proven time and time again that human beings can't multitask. It's like you can switch tasks quickly, but you really can't do multitasking. So, all of that. I don't like any of it. And because you never leave it, because it now invades your personal space.
Yeah.
Then you have this added guilt of, did I do enough today? But it's right there. How can I sit here and watch TV when I can see my work computer in the other room? Like,
yep.
And enjoy, you know what I mean? And enjoy it when I already feel like I didn't get enough accomplished today, and I'm just waiting for somebody to arbitrarily say I didn't do enough. Maybe I should get on and do. I don't. So then I feel even guiltier because I didn't like break down and do something more, Oh, it's I hate it. I hate that. I like being able to say, I'm going to go to this place for 8 hours and that's my day. And then I leave that and there's a defined break. And I leave that there and come to here, which is not there.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. That's healthy.
Yeah. So, I don't know. But I have a suggestion for a podcast. This is like completely outside of my wheelhouse. I usually am not the one to recommend podcasts, and actually I'm going to recommend it, and I haven't even listened to it yet. But
I love this. Go on.
It totally. So it was remember my pinball buddy that I was talking about before?
Yeah, yeah.
All right.
Love that guy.
Yeah, so he actually sent me this really awesome text message when he listened to that episode, and but he said, "Hey, I was on Spotify the other day and this recommendation came up in an ad, and it totally reminded me of Long Walk Short Drink, and I listened to it and it's awesome." So you might know this podcast already. It's called Heavyweight. Have you heard of it?
Have not.
Okay, so the name of the podcast is called Heavyweight. And it's episode I'm just going to jump right to the right episode. So it's episode 24. and the name of the episode is Jimmy and Mark. And I'm going to read you the synopsis and then tell you a little bit more because he actually listened to it. And if it doesn't remind you, it just like strikes stuff in you, I would be surprised. So it's Jimmy and Mark is the name of the episode. When he was only 10 years old, Jonathan Marshall was sent on a 240-mile bicycle trip, 3 days across 2 states with no adult supervision. 45 years later, Jonathan can't stop thinking about the trip or the little boys he made it with. So this guy and 3 of his friends all rode these 240 miles when they were 10 years old on their bikes to the one kid's uncle's house to go like stay at the uncle's house for like a week.
Yeah.
And and after that trip, they like kind of like, they had this picture in their newspaper and the story was written about it. And then they like went their separate ways. Like the 2 were brothers, so they stayed in contact. But the other 2 kids, like, I guess just kind of, and this is the first time they're reunited, like on this podcast to talk about this adventure. And like the one has a copy of the photo and like the other one thought it was lost to time. And I guess it's really an awesome episode. But his show, there's a lot of episodes like that where it's just people looking back at moment. There's one with a woman with who was bullied really bad, and so she like brings on her bullies from high school to like talk to them about that time. And the very first episode is the guy's brother, I guess, or dad and his brother were estranged for like years. And it's like the first time they've talked in decades. And because they're both getting old and he wanted to get his dad back in touch with his brother.
Wow.
So episode 24, though, I'm going to commit to listen to it between now and the next time. And hopefully it's good because then we'll talk about it.
That sounds fun. Yeah, I'll try that out. It's been weird around the house. I've been working here and I'm surrounded by things I'm not ordinarily surrounded by because I need to be upstairs where I would usually be downstairs. I got my media all around. It's actually kind of cool to have some of this layout. It's been sort of fun. I'll kind of miss it, but I'll be glad to get life back to normal. But downstairs, they're just like a dude working. And for some reason, I don't feel like I could it's not just him. It's the whole kind of weird uncertainty of feeling like, should this feel like work? Or I don't know what to do. And I haven't like been listening to podcasts really or anything. So I think I'll welcome the opportunity to feel like, oh, I should like give myself permission. I'm gonna give myself permission to listen to this Heavyweights episode 24. I think tomorrow. That sounds fun.
Yeah,
great.
I might have some time that I could probably get it done. So, I don't think it's very long either. So
well, that doesn't scare me either.
Yeah, not like us. So.
I actually have a little bit of a listener feedback, which we don't have very often.
Yeah.
We got this amazing email that I kind of highlighted the portions I felt could be shared.
Yeah.
And so this came to us at the email address lwsdpod@gmail.com. Simply subject line LWSD. And it says, it's kind of long, but I'll just read it anyway.
Which is fantastic.
Yeah, it's appropriate for our show. So it says, I absolutely love the show. Your relationship with your friends and family is so wonderful. I love how, as a listener, I can feel it through the episodes. I finally decided to work my way up instead of down through your episodes. I normally try to start in this order as I like to hear how a podcast evolves, but I can't tell you why I didn't do this with your show. I think it's because I was so interested in listening to the newer episodes and not wanting to miss out on your reactions to the latest happenings in the entertainment world and whatnot. I'm not trying to brown nose or kiss up to you. I truly mean it when I say I enjoy the show. The show reminds me in some ways of the old podcast series that Kevin Smith did with his friends and family about growing up in New Jersey, Highlands, A Peephole History. I always enjoy hearing about people talk with their friends and family about the past. It gives me that nostalgic feeling mixed in with historical Americana. It also helps that we aren't too far apart in age from each other, so a lot of what is talked about is relatable to me. I love the responses and reactions to things, especially hearing both of your thoughts on movies and entertainment before it came out. I feel like I'm in the future and eavesdropping on the past as I listen, saying to myself, I can't wait for them to find out about this, knowing that you both have already seen and more than likely reacted to the creative entertainment pieces. Not only do I appreciate what you guys talk about, I really do like that Palmer points out that the podcast is, quote, dude therapy, end quote. Besides all of the jokes and the laughter, the fact that you two are open about mental health absolutely rocks. Thank you for helping in breaking that stigma. I hope you both continue to push forward and in your own ways, let other men know that it's okay and healthy to talk about the things we sometimes bury. You guys rock. Keep podcasting. From John.
Man, is that good?
That is literally best case scenario reaction.
Yeah.
Like dream reaction that in my mind that if of someone stumbling across these conversations that we ultimately publish.
And it's over. And we're done. Done. Check the box.
I know. That's like how I feel about my favorite show. And it's so crazy that he mentions that Highlands of Peephole history. Because I know that show well, but that's kind of a deep cut in the whole Kevin Smith View Askew universe world.
Yeah, that's not one that I knew about. And I mean, I know he has a whole network of shows, so.
That was when that was first kind of becoming a network, and he was not really making movies and just kind of disgusted by the industry and just really embracing podcasting. And the show is literally just him talking to people that grew up in that area. To the extent they did one episode with Brian Quinn, who's an Impractical Joker. He's on the Impractical Joker show now. But he's been in the View Askew universe since like the mid 90s. Like he was a guy that was a big Kevin Smith fan and like wrote in the early days of the message board. And there was something where like he really wanted to buy the Mallrats book. There's this Mallrats book that came out from Kitchen Sink Press, actually, the one that published the Crow graphic novel. And it was the script. I don't have it right here, but I have something similarly sized. You said? This is another kitchen sink. This is the kitchen sink movie tie-in for Crow City of Angels, but it was like this size, and it was full of pictures, and it was like an illustrated script for Mallrats, and
awesome.
And it had that cool cover that looks like a comic book, which now that all seems so commonplace, but back then that movie did not do well because comic culture wasn't in the mainstream and etc. Right. And even that poster was a detriment to its success. But anyway, so Brian Quinn, now like super famous, at least in the True TV or whatever, they've just got the Jokers have a movie in theaters before they close all theaters. But anyway, so he bursts into some store and records it and asking for the Mallrats book, and the guy clerk gives him some shit, and he starts yelling at him like about in a voice that kind of sounds like Adam Sandler, like a Happy Madison type, Billy Madison, voice. Anyway, so this actually catches the attention of Kevin Smith, and eventually he ends up working for View Askew and becoming like best friends with Brian Johnson. So when Tell 'em Steve Dave, the podcast, gets started up, Brian Quinn goes from the sound engineer to one of the three. So it's like Brian Johnson, Walt Flanagan, and Brian Quinn. So Brian Johnson and Walt Flanagan are kind of the Brody, like from Mallrats would be Walt, and Brian Johnson would be like Randall from Clerks. Like those are the basis of those characters that Kevin Smith knew growing up in Highlands. And so like those guys were natural choices to be on. They were doing Tell 'em Steve Dave like one day, Highlands People History another day, and all this. But like so Brian Quinn had an episode, and even though he was starting to get some notoriety as his reality TV show started up, or what they never aired it because he isn't actually from that area. It's a long walk for a short drink. But that's all to say that Kevin Smith, who has always put his friends like front and center in his movies and then podcasts and even ultimately the Comic Book Men TV show, this is just like, I mean, his mom is on an episode, his buddies. But like if you're familiar with that world, you recognize some of these names. But it could easily just be us talking about Rittman. It's like such inside baseball for a town and high school.
Like Pickle
and
and Peanut. Pickle, Peanut, Alcid.
Oh,
all those people.
Well, Alcid definitely. Peanut like the heavier guy that was on the corner? No.
Peanut was the guy that lived in the Zollinger pits.
Oh, I might only know about that from this show.
And then Pickle was just a drunk that lived down on the south end of town that had a huge belly, but he had a like Jimmy Durant nose that came down over his like upper lip.
Whoa.
It looked almost like Gonzo. It looked like a strawberry. It was like big and bumpy.
I can't picture it, but I have a vague notion. But this is all like this kind of thing that you mentioned reminds me of that 45365 movie that I was talking about earlier. There's something about that whole small town thing where I don't know.
Larry always said that Rittman was like such a great cast of characters.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of the show Raising Hope. Have you ever seen that show?
I've never actually seen it, just previews for it.
So the guy that did My Name is Earl, and here's the VSQ connection.
Yeah.
That has Jason Lee and the big guy.
Oh, yeah, Ethan Suplee.
Yeah.
Jack is all
ripped
fucked
right now.
Yeah.
Like, he's like ripped. I guess he has like a really good YouTube channel on like fitness. So that's absolutely outrageous. Anyways, so My Name is Earl got canceled and Raising Hope was the follow-up to My Name is Earl. Maybe they overlapped for one season, maybe. But it had this Rittman-esque feel where it was just a little trashy, but just a little endearing, and was this full cast of like really unique personalities that just really struck me as Rittman-esque.
I see. Yeah, Martha Plimpton.
Yeah.
I don't
She's
know
so
this.
hot in the show too. Like, and this like milfy mom kind of way. Yeah.
The I don't know if it's the dad. He must be the dad. I'm not seeing his name, but I know him as John Dory on Fear the Walking Dead. Who that show is not always great, but John Dory is this glorious character.
Oh, and the dad is absolutely fantastic. He carries the show.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I might float this by the bride too, though. I think the show you mentioned before is gonna be because we finished Outsider, and she was like, when we watched the last episode, she's like, we can watch this last episode, but I'm gonna need a replacement. I didn't have one yet, but I still watched it.
Well, that's okay because the I'm Not Okay With This is only like 6 episodes. It's not very long. And they're like 25-minute long episodes. They're 28-minute long. So it's very quick. It moves very quick. They tell a lot of story, though, in that short amount of time. But you'll be through it really fast. We binged it in like 2 days. So
I'll try that. I'll float this Raising Hope because she also likes Martha Plimpton. That was a kind of a standout character from her youth.
You don't even have to watch the whole thing. Just watch like I haven't even finished what's available. But just watch the first like couple seasons and you'll really get a feel for, oh yeah, this does have a Rittman feel to it.
Yeah.
And man, but Martha Plimpton and the dad are just, they really carry it. And they have this, so her name, I won't spoil anything other than this. Her name is Virginia, right?
Okay.
And so he has all these Virginia shirts that he'll wear throughout the show, and like one of them has like the outline of the state Virginia and it says I'd rather be in Virginia.
Awesome.
And one where it's like Virginia is for lovers because that's their like slogan, and just it's so freaking awesome. And I love it. Love it. Great show.
Sounds great. We're actually watching Schitt's Creek. Have you heard of that?
Oh
show?
yeah, I heard that's good.
It's fun. Yeah. I'm not sure. Oh, because it was I think a coworker of hers said that the coworker thought the bride would like it based on its kind of irreverent nature and some other things that she'd mentioned she liked. So she was trying to kind of, to make as an obligation of sorts, you wanted to fall through and something to say you watched it. But we were both kind of like, I think this is kind of fun. It's like Catherine O'Hara and Eugene Levy's son, Dan Levy, I think is his name. And they're a rich, wealthy family who gets stuck in this like small town, and even in this like tiny hotel in this small town. It's really simple. I think it's on, or has historically been on the Pop Network, which I don't know if you've ever seen or watched anything on that network, but it's a nightmare of just like commercials every 5 minutes. It's an irksome network to the point where like I won't, if a movie's on that channel, I might not even stick with it because it's too much. But on Netflix, it's on Netflix. They must bleep shit on the Pop channel because they say all the words, and
wow,
it's really fun. I don't know. It was an unexpected delight for us. That based on the previews I've seen of Raising Hope, if I say like, oh, this is kind of like Schitt's Creek, she might go for it. Not so much the Rittman angle. I mean, she grew up in Medina, but Medina, they sort of, I think that town has a slightly higher view of itself.
Yeah, that whole area is really something. Just something.
I remember when I was working at WCTV being surprised at how proud people were of Wadsworth. I mean, not that you shouldn't be proud of where you live, but there was some kind of a, well,
Wadsworth is a pretty wealthy town, man.
It must be. Yeah.
There's some like impoverished areas of Wadsworth, but there's some money in Wadsworth.
Mm.
There's money in Rittman. I mean, there's a pretty big wealth gap in Rittman, even. Like between living up on the hill and living down on Salt Street.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. I mean, my dad, that was the thing. Like he moved up the hill by marrying my mom.
There's literally the train tracks, right? That like,
oh yeah, that too. Yeah.
So
iconic, Rittman. It's like all these archetypes.
Yeah. So I'm not shitting on it. I hope my biggest fear is like somebody from Rittman is going to stumble upon it, us talking about, and there are parts of Rittman to shit on for sure. But I mean, this is just all observational. But there is like a big wealth gap, I think, in Rittman.
Yeah, and I know that it's harder, like that they're, like the heroin thing hit there hard, and maybe still, I don't know.
Yep.
It's definitely different to drive through that town now than when
no diversity whatsoever. Like,
no, I guess not. No,
which is
I mean, certainly not when we were growing up. I can't remember any. But now, like you drive through Main Street, there's literally like bars on the window. There's like a Confederate flag hanging from one of the stores. It's upsetting. Yeah. But then, yeah, I'm sure you go up on the hill, it's like a different story. And yeah, West Hill, like the elementary school we were talking about, I mentioned earlier, that's like a whole complex and shit now. Like where.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh yeah, they have moved all the kids up to the hill. They're not, none of the schools.
Oh, that's right. They don't even have what would it be like?
The middle school
Houndstein Hall in the middle school.
Houndstein Hall and the middle school were torn down.
Right.
And North Street was turned into the administrative facilities, basically. So like the superintendent and stuff like that. And so then up on the hill, one part of the school I think does to a certain grade, and then the rest of the kids are up in the high school, like 5th through 12.
5th through 12 are in the high school altogether?
Yeah, but there's wings.
Oh,
so it's
okay.
like it's not like the 5th graders and 12th graders walk down the same hallway.
Yeah.
So like there's like a intermediary wing, and maybe it's like 7 through 12. And it goes up to 6th grade in the elementary school. I don't know what the split is, but I know it works like that. Some way like that.
Well, look at us. We're doing a peephole history of Rittman. The very timidly and like, yeah, we don't have anybody that is there now or or just outside of the two of us to
That
help.
might be
keep
the
us.
one that brings Larry on the show. Maybe we can get Larry on the
I
show.
don't
just
know
to
where
do
Larry is in the world, but
where
mind
I have no
reconnecting.
idea. Like if we say his name one more time, he's gonna pop up like Beetlejuice. So like,
It's not that I want him to pop up, but I want him to pop up of his own volition, not because of magic.
Yeah.
Dark magic.
There's another Ted joke. That's one of my favorite jokes in Ted 2 is when they're in court and shit's about to go down. They're like, there's only one thing that we can do, and we promised we would never do it. And Mark Wahlberg's like, Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice. And like Ted jumps up and decks him. He's like, no, you don't know what kind of power you're calling down upon us. Like,
oh my God. I love that your references are both from Ted 2, not Ted 1.
Yeah. I actually remember the jokes from Ted 2 more than I remember the jokes from Ted 1.
That's
great.
great.
There's another like completely inappropriate one that really just got me good when I heard it. And you got to cut it out because it can't go in the episode.
Okay.
Because it's really off color.
Do a psh,
but
so that I know.
Psh.
I forgot completely about that.
And I almost pissed I'm like, this one is fantastic. Like, what a sequel. Sequels are never as good as the original. This is fantastic.
Oh man, what are we doing?
Yeah.
I gotta watch both of those this weekend.
Yeah.
That's great. Oh man, my face hurts. Oh, this is good. So this type of social whatever I'm into. But just don't force me to talk to people I don't want to. Sorry. For our listeners, I'm squeezing my face because it hurts.
Hi, my name is Chubby.
Yeah.
My name is Chubby.
My
name is Chubby. So, so we watch that. That's all we pretty much watched. Oh, we did. So we finished the original trilogy. Ash wanted to watch the original trilogy again, and so we made it through that finally, and we watched the current editions of them, like the ones that are on Disney Plus, which I would consider to be the most recent editions of the film.
They have to be, right?
And it was so endearing that there was a lot of stuff where she's like, "Why would they even do that?" You know,
she could tell. You mean?
Oh yeah, and one of the big ones is they put Hayden Christian as the Force ghost at the end of Jedi. It's not the old man. And
doesn't make sense.
It makes sense from a point that we never saw that man as a full Anakin, right? Like, so we only saw him as like the...
Or like an idea that Anakin died then as a young man.
Yeah.
But I don't like it.
I don't like it either.
I don't like it, especially because of the great scene with Luke and him and his head all caved in and stuff. Like, you've seen that guy and you recognize him.
And that's where it came back, where he came back to the light side, which would make him the full circle of, like, he would be that version of himself, right?
Right.
So
like Obi-Wan's not Ewan McGregor, God forbid.
Exactly.
Even though I love him.
Because when Obi-Wan died, when he became one with the Force, was when he was old Obi-Wan, right? Like that's right. And so, they also didn't show, in the new trilogy, the bodies disappearing are a big point. Like that's like, you've served your purpose for the Force, and now you get to be one with it. Like you devoted your life to the will of the Force. So as a reward, you get to disappear and become a piece of it. That's what happened to Yoda and Obi-Wan. And they come back as Force ghosts. So, Ben Solo gets to like disappear. That's what happens to him after he serves his purpose by killing and Princess Leia disappeared once Ben disappeared. She just got to disappear because her purpose was served. He like came to the light and did his duty. If Anakin comes back as a Force ghost, why didn't his body disappear? That to me is a bigger glare
Cool.
that you could fix versus putting Hayden Christian in as the Christian.
Now I'm second guessing. Christensen, maybe.
I don't know.
That's a good point, though.
I'll figure it out.
Oh, it's Christensen. So you're right.
Yeah.
I think. Oh man.
Yeah, Hayden Christensen. So.
Oh, there's a cute picture of him and Mark Hamill. Okay, because the first picture I'm just like, fuck this guy. I don't even have a problem with him generally, but then I see him with Mark Hamill and it makes me happy.
Oh, that's nice.
They're like pretending to force choke the camera.
We watched that, and then we watched the feature-length Clone Wars movie, like the animated Clone Wars movie that starts that series.
Oh, okay. I have never watched it. My nephews love that show. They were just the right age, so I saw like, I don't know, less than 5 minutes of it with them one time, but that's kind of it.
So it's really fucking weird because you know how one of the big complaints about the prequels is like kids don't give a shit about trade disputes.
Yeah.
That's like and so it's this fucking show that I know has a huge cult following as well as like a huge kid following. And it's about the fucking politics. Like it's not like
I didn't know that.
It's that dry prequel style, not the original trilogy, like fast paced.
Oh man.
It's that like long drawn out, we're talking in this like really proper way and like it's still a republic, so and I'm like, how do kids fucking like this? Like I don't get it. So
that's weird. I'm surprised to hear that. I guess we are closing in on that sort of, is it a generational shift now that the kids, oh fuck yeah, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Damn.
21 now.
Yeah, so it's less of it's like their world now.
Yeah.
If it doesn't blow up or immolate or whatever is happening.
That's okay, because we'll get to once the boomer remover takes care of all the boomers. I heard
is that what they're called? Instead of
the boomer remover,
the Chinese virus.
Yeah,
fucking idiot. That's
so.
The bride has been calling me
that.
That's a
terrible joke.
Sometimes actually, the bride has called me okay. She's done an okay boomer twice to me, which has floored me both times.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, I'm not gonna keep my statement right there in my mouth.
Right? Yeah, but what it was is like I was acting like a grumpy old man, which I can sometimes do, and she goes, okay, boomer. Totally like puncture it. I'll just be like rolling laughing.
That's hilarious.
I hadn't heard that though. The boomer removal. That's kind of dark, but
remover. Yeah.
Remover. Yeah.
The boomer remover.
Ooh.
So, well, if that happens, then we get to call the shots for the next 20 years.
I suppose. Yeah.
So.
Be like Turbo Kid.
Man.
Be like the Turbo Kids.
Shit. I know we keep coming back to it. It's so fucking depressing that we just keep talking about it, but I don't know what else to talk about.
I mean, the pandemic. It's pretty all consuming.
I would just I am not one to follow the stock market or investments or anything like that, but when you create a new tab in Internet Explorer, it still like creates like a news feed,
Mm-hmm.
and there's like, I'd open it up and just watch the stock market fucking tank and just like all of that stuff is awful and terrifying. I just really hope, this is going to come out. By the time this comes out, hopefully things have turned a corner, and like, by the next time we record, we get to be like, oh man, isn't it great to be where we are now compared to where we were the last time we recorded?
That was our COVEN-19 episode.
Our COVEN-19. Yeah, I mean,
Coven sounds like oven.
No, man, because that sounds like oven. It's Coven. Oh shit.
Sorry, you were a bit
Yeah.
thought.
No,
But just hoping to
I
be
mean,
in the
I just don't have any wind in my sails with all
Yeah.
this shit. Like,
No, I don't either. It's weird.
and I mean, so we've gone through all the media we've consumed, which you haven't even consumed that much.
No.
That's usually the other way around.
I've been waking up at like 6 and working on my projects and stuff. One of which is kind of done. I mean, it's not one of the larger long scale projects, but it's like a nice teaser for Cabin Kids Cram's album and kind of the documentary I've been working on that uses that as an anchor. But that'll come out in April, so I don't want to talk too much about it now. But I've been working on that, and so I'm trying to be like asleep by 10. And you know, this is sort of interesting. I can't advocate for people to wake up early, really, because I hate waking up early. But I do like waking up early to do things I want to do, and you know, especially editing. It's like I just get up, I get the coffee, and I just kind of fall into it. And then by like 9 o'clock, if I'm working from home and I get up at 6, I put in 3 hours on my own shit, and I'm feeling really good, at least in terms of like the effort I put forth, whether or not something happens. And then, yeah, it's just a nice like feeling to start the day. And then by the time evening comes around, it's not hard for me to fall asleep usually. Whereas for a few years it has been. And I think that's because I was in the mode of like starting. I'd try to push at the end of a night to put in an hour or so of work on whatever I was working on. And best case scenario, I got on a roll. But then that meant I need to stop and try to go to sleep and shut it all down, which was hard. So it's been kind of nice, but it's funny because it kind of cramps the bride's style. She's used to me sleeping in, especially on the weekends. She's like, "What do you?
Yeah.
This is my time up here," because of the split level. She's like, "Your time down there," and so I try to honor that, but I can't help torture her. And
Ash usually volunteers on Tuesdays, so that's how I get bachelor night.
Yeah,
you know, when I eat my
movie to pizza. I don't think I knew it was quite that combo. That I'm gonna think about that every Tuesday now. I'm just like, oh, it's probably just like eating a pizza and watching a movie.
Yeah, it's great. It's so fucking awesome. Like I'll usually will pick one pinball machine because that like I usually only play one a day. Like I only turn on the one that I'm going to play, that I feel the urge to play, and I will play at least one every day, right? And so Tuesdays, it's usually like the one pinball machine I turn on will be on, and I'll come home from work, and I have to get all of the like necessary stuff done. So like Ash predominantly will walk tank in the afternoon. But if she needs me to, like she's got a meeting or something, and so she's not going to be able to come home between there and volunteering. So if I have to walk him, or I have to do laundry because I put it off or something like that, like I have to get all those chores done before I start my like bachelor routine. Because once it starts, I don't get anything done. Right. And then it's like, then it's just, I'm bouncing between the pinball machine and like sitting in my chair, looking at my phone and watching YouTube. But then it's like, usually I won't even order the pizza until I picked what I'm going to watch. Cause more times than not, I'll end up like not watching anything because it takes too long to pick. So I'll pick what I'm going to watch. And then I order the pizza, and I usually will play pinball until it shows up. And then I'll start what I'm watching and eat my pizza. And Ash will usually get home when I'm about 40 minutes into my movie. So, because it's by the time I get all that stuff done and get ready for it, then it's like, you know, I have enough time to eat and watch about half of my movie. So
something about that bothers me. So I'll be able to be a little less jealous, but it still sounds nice. What was the last movie you watched on one of those Tuesdays?
Let me think. So I started I'm Not Okay With This on one of them. That was the last one that I can remember. And then I went back and told Ash, I was like, you got to watch this because it's really good. And I think you'll like it. I did watch a video game documentary. And then I've been really addicted to, we found two vloggers on YouTube that we really like. Did I talk about these the last
I don't think
time?
so. No, I don't know them.
So, we watch so much YouTube that our recommended is always changing. Like usually when you see people's recommended, it's because they don't watch a lot of YouTube. It's very concise on what's in that recommended section, but ours, there's all kinds of crap constantly changing because we're just watching everything on there. And recently I've been getting a lot of recommendations for like history of internet culture. And that shit, like, I definitely was not huge into internet culture, but I at least used the internet a lot and visited like corners of the internet that I thought were unique. But I love hearing about, again, like this like subversive like undertones of culture. And these vloggers just do these awesome little histories on great things from that have happened early in the internet and unsolved mysteries of the internet and weird, disturbing things found on the internet. And we've been watching a lot of those, and those have been. There are some Tuesdays where it's just like YouTube and a pizza, and not necessarily movie and a pizza. So
That's all right. That's fun too.
Yeah.
Have you heard of It Came From Something Awful, the book?
No.
I heard about it a while back. It was on the WTF podcast that the author came on. But and the author is Dale Beran, Beran. I'm not sure how to say that name. But I guess it came from something awful, or maybe something awful was, it tracks, when you were saying internet culture, I wonder if I can get a synopsis of this book. It turns out there's an audiobook of it, so this might be my end. The full title is It Came From Something Awful, How a Toxic Troll Army Accidentally Memed Donald Trump into Office. And so the short synopsis is, sorry, oh no, then it went away. God damn it.
This is essentially like Bannon's minions, right? Like his
sort of, it says it's
empire that he built.
Actually, it traces back through internet culture. So it says how 4chan and 8chan fuel white nationalism, inspire violence, and infect politics. So it sort of tracks the thing that went on, that basically like with the interference with Russia and social media and all of that kind of stuff. But it tracks that back to like meme culture and 4chan, 8chan. I had literally never heard these terms before I heard this guy talk.
Right.
And it's not really like to point blame at this, that, or the other. It was just like, how the fuck did we get here? And so this book sort of posits, it's 222 pages, an idea of how that might be.
And 4chan is a massive site with huge communities that, so that there are those that can tie right into that, like what this guy is proposing. But then there's also parts of it that have nothing to do with that.
Yeah, I'm sure. Right.
These guys that I'm watching, there's a lot of references to 4chan, and it has nothing to do with white nationalism. You know, it's
just people talking about stuff
happen on 4chan.
In.
It's just a big forum. It's an unmoderated forum where like anybody can post anything basically. So, and there's fucked up shit that they thrive on in that community. You know, so it's like my fascination with like the skater community.
I didn't know you had a fascination with the skater community.
Oh my God. I told Ash, I've always told Ash, I was like, if I could just break into any kind of like subculture, it would be the skater culture. Like that is so fascinating.
Say more about this. I had no idea. Gosh. I don't even know that I'm sure I know what that is. You mean like skateboarding?
Well, like Jackass, King of the Road is this fantastic show that was on Vice TV. So Thrasher puts on this, every year they put on this, like multi-state scavenger hunt with 3 skate teams where they get a big book of tricks and a videographer, to go around, and they have all these objectives that they can go to, but then they also can have to document these tricks out of this book. And there can be all kinds of fucked up stuff. And then there's all these side competitions to see like how many chicks can you make out with, and like where you have to like do a butt chug or like, which is just like, I'm not even going to describe what that is.
I think I know.
And like all kinds of fucked up shit. That's just, it's that like anarchist, I don't give a shit, I'm just out here to like skate the world mentality that just totally appeals to me. So there's this really awesome skater, his name's Andy, and he has no teeth. They just keep falling out. He had a really bad drug problem, and like part of the competition is when they go to a city, usually the city has a it could be multiple, but usually at least one very well-known skater that they will tag that team up with. And then that like guest skater will have local competitions that they'll like local challenges that they'll have to do. So when they went to San Francisco, Andy was their guest, their celebrity skater. And one of his challenges was we have to drive around town and yell at yuppies. And so like they would just drive around town, and when they saw rich people or people who they thought looked rich, they'd just be like, "Oh, you fucking yuppies!" Like they would yell that out the window. This is like 2008. Who uses the term yuppie anymore? So, yeah, but like this internet culture thing is very fascinating to me, because to know like I was using the internet and it was changing my life around the same time that they're doing this history of, and it was all happening under my nose. I think that's why I find it so fascinating. Is like there was this whole other world happening when the internet was changing my life. These people were already using it to change other people's lives. So
cool.
Yeah, really fascinating stuff. So
I never would have guessed that about you.
Yeah,
full of surprises, man.
You don't know me. Did you know I wanted to be a dancer? In Vegas.
That was epic. Oh, the bride does that. She's gonna love that quote. So there's a visual component to our audio listeners. That's a quote from Chasing Amy, where Silent Bob speaks in the diner. And Cliff's like, he's like, "You don't know me. Did you know I always wanted to be a dancer?" What does he say? Like, "Shit, the things you don't know about me can fit in the Grand Canyon." Something like that.
Yeah.
That was a great pull. Oh, there's some comedy specials been dropping. I did see one of them. I saw Mark Maron's End Times Fun on Netflix, which was cool and oddly appropriate. The thing he keeps saying in that thing is like, "What's it going to take? The sky to be on fire for us all to?" And then
it really is like there's like a locust plague right now in Africa. I think in Kenya.
Really? Oh God.
There's major droughts somewhere else. We're supposed to get all this flooding. Fucking plague. The plague is happening. Yeah. It does look like the end times.
No, it some days it really feels like we're in the early scenes of a apocalyptic type movie, like 28 Days Later, or what's the one? 28 Weeks Later? Something about, I only saw that one once, but something about that feels more like you see the thing happen, whereas 28 Days Later, the guy wakes up and...
Right. It's already done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck, it's scary. What's another? Bert Kreischer's got one coming out. I haven't seen that one yet, but...
Joe Coy, man. You gotta watch Joe Coy.
I saw... Well, wait, I think he might have had one come out since the last one I watched.
Seattle, I think, is the latest one, maybe.
Is that what it's called? Or where it took place?
No, that's where it's at. I think it might be in the title on Netflix, but he's been popping up on our Netflix as a joke on Sirius, so that we love that station because they just pull tidbits from Netflix specials. But then he also has been popping up on our recommended a lot. and his impersonation of his mother, like
Yeah.
it
I have
is
seen that.
fantastic. Like, what? Say it again. What did you say, Joseph? Like, say it again. So fucking good, man. Like, it's inappropriate. I probably shouldn't do that.
Oh, I guess, but yeah,
yeah.
I know what you mean. Reminds me of
But it's
Margaret
endearing,
Cho's
like,
thing of her mom.
But that's the thing is
Yeah.
like that transcends a racial border because it's like man, that's my fucking mom.
Yeah.
To a T. Like I get that. Like, oh,
It's a disposition more so than an accent. Or something.
yeah. And like, when he was talking about how Filipino moms just shit on their kids' dreams when he said he wanted to be a comedian, and she's like, "Who told you were funny?" Like
Oh,
that's how she
I think I have
reacted.
heard
Like,
that. It's funny in that Jacob documentary they talk to his parents. So Jacob's like this
Yeah.
grown ass man. But it's funny because you can hear there's one of the best moments is like this thing where his mom rails on. She's sort of you could tell she was really frustrated by wherever they lived when he was a kid. So I won't give that
Yeah.
away exactly. But then his dad has this kind of. He's like, who would want to watch this documentary kind of thing? He's not like really mean about it, but it reminds me of this thing that Bruce Springsteen always says, where it's like the making of, like a rock star or whatever. It's like you have to have people as you're growing up tell you like you're the, the next, like the second coming of Jesus, but also you have to have this combination of like crippling self-doubt coming and
Yeah.
self-confidence, this like bizarre give and take between those
That's
two
so
extremes.
fucked that is fucked up. And
Yeah.
like, we wonder why there's so much like mental problems in the fucking world. That's like, and we expect 4 to 12-year-olds to be able to decipher between those two. Like, I've seen parents. I personally have like done that to kids. That's fucked up, and we expect them to be able to decipher between those two things and tease out the nugget of like knowledge out of those lessons. That's so fucked up,
And
man.
sense of self. Yeah. I mean, and now it's like all of the coddling that kids seem to get. I don't know. I don't know what I'm getting
Power. No, like they are given power. The coddling is one thing. We were coddled. Like, I was told, it was beat into my head, you can be anything you want.
at. Or,
And never like the second half, that as long as you're willing to work for it, like.
yeah.
And so like you can be anything you want. Like, the coddling I totally get. It's the power thing. Like, I always knew who the fuck was in charge, like, you can coddle and still do. I don't know how. I'm not a parent and I'm not going to even begin to guess it, but that's where I really think the power dynamic shifted somewhere where these kids were just given all the power, and that's
I hadn't
really
heard it
dangerous.
put like that, but that does make sense. Yeah. Yeah. Also not a parent. So I can't,
Yeah.
nor do I even aspire to be. I can barely take care of myself. I have to work really hard at it just to be a person.
Yeah, and I don't want to fucking meet with you, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That doesn't make me a bad guy. I think
No.
maybe. I don't know. I don't want you to think I'm a bad guy. I'm a bad guy. It's like
What is so wrong? Like, you don't want to talk to me, I don't want to talk to you. That doesn't mean I don't like you. That doesn't
I
make
mean,
you
maybe
any
I
less
don't,
of
but
a
it's,
person. But who cares?
you don't need me. I don't know what I'm saying.
Hey, you know what? And you know what? All this troublesome stuff, this just dawned on me, though. Harvey Weinstein got 27 years and still has to face trial in L.A. That's fucking fantastic. Like,
That is good. Consequences for
Yeah.
children and rapists.
yeah. Fucking A, right. So I have really been addicted to chicken. As much as I talk about pizza, I've gone through this. I go through this phase where I get a taste for something and I totally stim out on it and eat it too much, And right now that happens to be chicken wings.
Oh,
And,
boneless or
so,
bone with the bone?
Bone in.
I
Oh yeah,
can't-
with the bone.
I find them so frustrating.
Yeah. So there's a couple. So we found this place called Roosters. It's a chain, so there might be around you.
Okay.
Their wings are fantastic. They're big, and it actually is satisfying to eat them. Like, there's enough meat on them that it's worth it. But our favorite wings are these from Kroger. they're called savory wings, and there's no sauce on them. They're just like seasoned really well and then really crispy. And are they fantastic? But so I dropped the link in here. It's just a Vine. It's only 7 seconds long. But cue it up. It's going to start playing as soon as you click it. So you got to pause it real fast and then drag it back to the beginning.
Okay, I'm ready now.
So when one of us wants wings, or when we get wings, one of us will start this and the other one will sing it along with them. So let's on 3, 2, 1, play.
Chicken wing, chicken wing, chicken wing, chicken wing, chicken.
And that's all the longer it is.
That's all you need.
It's so fantastic. I love Vine so much. But yeah, man,
That's
chicken wings.
Great. I'll have to give him another try one of these days.
Oh yeah.
Certain things like that, crab legs, I'm just like, it's too much work for me. Just give me the meat.
You got to be somewhere. You have to like go somewhere that the wings. So like BW3s used to have really good wings, and now they have like they're like minuscule. There's hardly anything on there, so that would piss me off. But like Roosters and Kroger, these wings are like there's like 3 or 4 bites. Like it's good, substantial. Like it's good. I like them.
All right,
Man, we're talking about fucking chicken wings, dude. Oh,
we're at in life.
Yeah.
We're quarantined. I'm not watching enough movies.
No, fucking, we got nothing like the Stephen King. Nothing.
I haven't. Yeah, I tried to listen to. I tried to start, but now I'm not in the car at all, so that's a problem. I tried to start. Dragon. What's the fucking co-written Dragon?
Eyes of the Dragon.
Eyes of the Dragon again, and it just wasn't happening. I've actually been. So there's a new Pearl Jam album dropping next Friday, and I've known that was coming, and I just thought, oh, it'd be fun to start going through the Pearl Jam like catalog, and so I have, and I've been having a blast, but it's nothing new to report exactly. I'm in 1990. I've finished 1991.
Awesome.
There's there's the great Pearl Jam 20 documentary that Cameron Crowe did, and there's a nice book accompaniment that or there's a nice book tie-in called Pearl Jam 20, and instead of chapter numbers, it's by year, and so I've been kind of like using that, going along, and then just coming up with a kind of a recording history. It's funny because we talked about this another time, and I realized it's like shows my age, but it's also something that I'm not that interested to change. But so I'm going through trying to piece together through all of my various tons of Pearl Jam artifacts, like the recording kind of chronology of like, when was this song? Like, what if I were just to do this sort of released outtakes, etc. from 1990, what are those, and when did they happen, and what's the order? So I'm doing this, and I'm midway through 91 and checking all these like things to try to get some clarity, and then I'm like, I wonder if there's a website that there's a website immediately. It comes up a website, Pearl Jam Recording Chronology. It's like came out in 2002, says all this stuff. I'm like, well, that's nice to have the clarity, but it kind of takes the fun out of it. But it reminded me when we did the Stand episode, and I was going through all these like introductions of the Stephen King books, and I had all these papers around me, and I think you had Wikipedia, and you knew you had all of it at your fingertips, and you were able to like rattle it all off. And I was like, well, let me go to page whatever of this.
You look like that meme of Charlie Day from It's Always Sunny when he's explaining he's got a war wall up. Shit.
Yeah, I do kind of like the process of all that, but there are faster ways as long as we still have electricity. Anyway,
well, buddy, let's call it. I think.
Yeah, this was fun.
It was good. It was a nice little conversation. Maybe it's been shorter the last few times, so maybe if we're bored in the next couple of weeks, we'll hop on again and do a little short episode. So
yeah, I don't know why that is. I even went through. I was gonna we went to the Mystery Science Theater or whatever. It was funny. There's not a lot to report. It was really funny.
Yeah. It's a weird fucking time, man.
It really is.
So.
The weirdest many have lived through in quite some time.
Well, all right, long walkers. Let's go through the homework assignments. Listen to episode 24, A Heavyweight. We're going to do that between now and the next time that we record. Jimmy and Mark is the name of that episode. Head over to audibletrial.com/LWSD. Start your free Audible trial on us and get a free audiobook. You can download. What's that one that you?
Oh yeah, I'm curious about this one. It came from something awful. That's the main
Yeah.
title.
Yeah. So download that. See what you think. Email us at lwsdpod@gmail.com. Let us know what you think about the show. We'd love to hear from you, and we might read a synopsis of your letter on the air, or while we're recording. Follow us at LWSD Pod on Twitter. Other than that, man.
Oh, we're on Spotify now. I mean, if you're listening, you're listening.
Search Long Walk Short Drink on Spotify.
Yeah.
You should be able to find us on there. Because I know that we've been asked multiple times if we were on Spotify, and now we fucking are.
Yes.
So
So whether or not they've
subscribe to us.
relaxed their policies or we've met them, we're there.
Awesome. Hey, buddy, it was great catching up with you.
Yeah.
Stay safe out there. Don't touch your face and wash your hands.
Okay,
So,
thanks.
I got to itch my eye right after I said that. It's like, as soon as you say it, your face is like, oh, you need to lick your finger. Did you see that poor
Lick your
CDC
finger.
woman?
No.
She, like, right when this was all coming out, she had this, like, big stack of papers, and she's, like, talking. She just literally says, she's like, so avoid touching your face. And then she licks her finger and flips flip the page.
Oh,
of the stack of
sure.
papers.
Yeah.
Fucking goddamn it! Like
The one I saw was that guy. I don't know who it was or where, but he was giving this talk, and you could like in front of a press conference, and his mouth getting dry. And he's like, I can't do this, and he walked off.
really?
Yeah, I don't even know why. But people are crumbling.
Shit. Oh, it's fucking awful. All right, man. Well, stay safe out there. Hug the bride. Hug 11 and Jeff for us.
Thank you. Yes, you do the
Poor
same
Jeff.
for Ash, Mika, and Mose.
Oh man. So, and the Toothless Wonder Tank.
That's right. Oh, I'm so sorry, Tank. Oh yeah, I don't know why. It was the alliteration of it. I got lost. But
Yeah.
there's no
No,
excuse.
that's fine. No big deal. All right, Long Walkers. This has been Real, episode 83 in the can. We'll talk to you episode 84.
All right. Cheers, everybody. Be well, my friend.
Yep, you too, buddy. Talk to you soon.